Welcome. Bev Benwick here, leadership coach, author, and trainer. I have a passion for supporting leaders just like you. In this short 15-minute video presentation, I will share with you a bit of my view and experience with leadership roles. As well, I promise to bring significant value to your current take on leadership and share with you some powerful insights that you can start working on today. If you are already practicing what I put forth today, well, I applaud you. Perhaps there will be a few things in here that are a good refresher for you. Leadership is not for the faint-hearted. Decision-making can sometimes be easy, and other times it's just darn challenging. As you lead the way forward, the path presents many complex issues. All leaders that I work with experience stress in the workplace, and that can't help but carry into one's personal life too. Creativity as a leader is key, but how does one find that time for creative thinking? What about those that you lead? Are they truly performing at their best? Are the right people in the right seats on the bus? And are they the significant contributors with healthy mindset that you need to have in place to grow the business? Is your business in a startup stage, the early stages of growth? Is the business trying to find its place amongst the competitors? Perhaps the business is in a sustainable position, trying to maintain its positioning. Maybe you're realigning the business, or you're knee-deep in a turnaround. Just when can you as a leader catch your breath? Leadership has been a huge part of my career, from very early on as an entrepreneur. Eventually I led divisions and firms for others, and now I've returned to my very own small business and I'm loving every day. But leadership was a rocky road for me. Over the years, I love leading the way. Strategic discussions absolutely made my heart sing. Making decisions and putting new ideas in play was just exhilarating. Being the one responsible for the bottom line was, I admitted, scary at times, seduced me with a challenge and I rose to the occasion. While I was good at the harder skills in leadership, I honestly thought I was great with people skills. I mean the leading of others here. I had many lessons to learn in this regard, and that didn't come until later in life. We cannot change what we don't acknowledge. And it was many years before I was prepared to step back and examine how I showed up for others. I'm not speaking just about my direct reports here, but also to peers and team members as well. It's far too many years before I sat up and paid attention. Admittedly, I have a lot to be ashamed about with my past leadership. I'm not proud of how I led people in the first phases of my career. I came from a place of we have a job to get done, so let's get on with it. Dealing with the distress of others was difficult for me, so I put it aside. I didn't understand the power of intrinsic motivation for people, and I most certainly didn't understand that most of the problems and concerns stemming from employees could have positively been different had I been a better leader. I didn't understand that being a better leader for others could bring about favorable changes to the top line and the bottom line of my business. I was highly stressed at times, and that only magnified my need to drive for results. And that only magnified the not-so-brilliant behaviors of my leadership styles. Nighttime worry seeped into many of my attempts to rest, and eventually I did start to question myself. I became worn out and was operating on fumes. But I just wasn't asking myself the right questions. I wasn't asking myself the questions that I understand now. You know, a poignant moment for me was standing in an airport, coming back from yet another business trip, and waiting for my luggage after a long trip. I was on my own, watching others, being greeted by happy friends and family members. The air around me was charged with their energy. But I was tired and exhausted. Actually, I seemed to have a never-ending weight on my shoulders. I watched what was going on around me in wonderment, and it seemed like we were worlds apart. And even as I speak to that today, I can even drum out those emotions that were just so poignant for me at that time. When times were tough, I used to be really good at putting one foot in front of the other. When I was worn down, I found it harder and harder to find that energy to keep the feet mobile under such conditions. Looking back, gosh, how could I possibly have been inspiring and motivating to others? Some years later, a person entered my life who basically held a mirror up to my face. And I have to tell you, that was not comfortable. But then I started to realize the value of getting feedback and how badly I needed to be honest with myself and take a different path of development. It's hard to see your own truth. I took my insights seriously and committed to finding out more about myself and my leadership, to understand where my strengths were and where my challenges were. And I had learned that an overblown strength became a weakness. Now that was a blinding glimpse of the obvious for me. I made it my mission to show up differently as a leader, and for me, that meant how to be a better leader for others. I've been amazed at the value that comes as a result of making these changes. Employee loyalty, accountability can soar. Communication opens up and invites contribution and commitment. Tension dies down. Relationships improve, and collectively all involved come together to move the business forward. Just think to what this can do for a climate of trust in the culture of the company. I claim my leadership, who I really wanted to be as a leader at this time, and what a difference it makes. If I could only go back in time and make those corrections. But we can't change the past, only the future. If you watched the first video on my site, I had promised to share some leadership insights with you. I am all about bringing value to leaders that I work with, and that means you too. So let's go. We're going to look at the following: identify leadership styles, learning to select the best leadership style for the situation, what styles you currently choose to operate from, are they serving you and others well, discover the one powerful step you can take right now to show up differently. Leadership styles vary amongst all whom I work with. Often we emulate the styles of those that we have reported to before. You may have had a terrific model to learn from, or perhaps the opposite is true. As emotions are often situationally present, our emotional patterns that develop very early in our lives also influences how we will show up in a particular situation, even now as an adult. The more mature our leadership, hopefully we have a better command of self-managing at difficult times. But this is not always the case. Let's look at the leadership styles model that I use with my clients. You may wish to reach for pen and paper just to jot down some notes here. So we're going to talk to the 6 different leadership styles that I use. Number 1 is the coercive style, the do-what-I-say style that has its place in a work environment for sure. I also speak to this as the command and control approach. It's a very telling style. Under conditions of emergency, chaos, turnaround situations, missed deadlines, this makes sense. But a caution here. With this as a prolonged or misused style, it will only serve to wear down your people and demotivate them. And when I see leaders who have leaned on this readily too long and too much, I find there's a reason why they try to control what goes on around them. Number 2 is the authoritative style. This is a let-me-show-you-the-way style that can be highly effective when the team or business seems to be adrift. The leader clearly states the overall objective and gives the people the reins, allowing them to choose their path to achievement. If you are working with a very experienced team, this is perhaps not the best choice of style. And number 3 is the affiliative style. This approach is a collegial style where people come first and where situations show as a breakdown of relationships and low morale. The affiliate style is appropriate as a choice in this case. Affiliate leaders seldom give advice, and they often use praise to reward and motivate. While appropriate at times, overuse can lead to an acceptance of poor performance and certainly employee confusion or a sense of a loss of way. Number 4 is a democratic style. This style gives everyone a voice at decision-making time. The yield in this behavior is a business that demonstrates flexibility, accountability, and promotes idea generation from its people. While this seems highly appealing for the workplace climate, I have witnessed overuse of such a style, and this brings about such issues as death by meeting, confusion, a desire to have someone to actually step up and lead the way. And number 5 is the leader as coach style. This style works well to forward personal development activities of people. The leader facilitates the focus and learning process by asking questions that forward the thinking. The leader holds accountability to action and helps to harvest the learning. Those are also functions of the leader under this style. The style is modeled after the adult learning model and can be very effective as long as you have a willing participant. As an overused style, it is very time-consuming. The pace-setting style, number 6. This driven leader models high-performance standards illustrating preferred behavior and action to those that he or she leads. This is tantalizing to your high potentials, or those who are self-motivated. It is a style that can overwhelm others, though, with its continued call for excellence, and that may lead to resentment for some. So I have some questions for you to consider. And I'm going to just give you time after each question to just reflect a little bit on them and jot down a couple of notes so when you go back to what you have written down, you will have made it yours, made it your own, and have meaning. The question is, how many of these styles do you lean on as a manager or leader? Most of us do lean on 2 to 3 styles. While you may be familiar with the 6 styles, what really counts is, are you selecting the style that is appropriate for the situation at hand? That is where the rubber hits the road. Ideally, leaders at their best are able to seamlessly move between 5 and 6 styles. So here's my next question. What are the prevailing challenges in your workplace at the moment? What about current leadership style may be refueling the very problems that you have identified? If those that you lead were present with us at the moment, what do you think they would tell me about those very problems and your leadership impact? And don't pull the wool over your eyes here. As a leader, those around you are informally judging how you show up every day. I guarantee it. How is your stress level impacted as a result of these challenges? And what does that mean for your life? And I am speaking beyond the office. What do you want for your leadership and the leadership of others around you? How do you need to show up differently to bring about a more positive outcome? Well, most managers and leaders of others assume that our style of leading is a product of our personality. What might be possible if you chose to look at your leadership style as a strategic choice? What style is best fit for the situation at hand? As we've gone through these questions, do you see how off the rails one can get with regards to the leadership of others? Given this presentation, what are you prepared to do to create a shift in your leadership starting tomorrow? And if not, what are you going to let hold you back? Procrastination can be costly. Most of us are not born leaders. In fact, very few are. But we can learn, and one needs to be open to doing so or things will stay the same. Who holds you to your truth? I talk about people and profit, and by this I simply mean greater leadership of people brings about greater contribution and greater profitability. What I have shared with you in the last several minutes has tremendous value in making this real for you. But this is not about short-term results. This is about long-term strategy. This is your job as a leader, to start showing up differently and to realize just how much of a positive impact your leadership of others can have on both the top line and bottom line of your business. This applies for all leaders in small business, whether you are the owner, the partner, the mid-manager, or senior leader. The business culture does impact financial results, either way, good or bad. And we need to remember the organizational culture is generated from the top down. And I promise to give you an insight, one that you can start doing right now. Leadership is a contact sport. And you may in fact already be doing this, but from my years of coaching, I know most will have not done this certainly as frequently as they should, or may not ever have approached this activity, or may have approached it one time and let it fall off. But it's a practice we fondly refer to as walk and talk. And I'm sure you can kind of guess where I'm going on this. At least 3 times a week, but best at 4 and 5, get out there and engage with the people. That's right, I mean engage in discussion with your people. And your business may be big enough now to where you don't know. You know the faces, but you don't know all the people. You know, set that aside. If you don't know names, that's okay. But you need to get out there and you need to engage. If you're a small practice person with only a few in the office, this is really easy to implement. If it's a larger facility, it takes more time. If you have shift workers, at some point of turnover, ensure that you are on site to see this through. I can't tell you how much this improves the climate of an organization. People don't trust those they don't know. And don't fret if you don't know those names. Remember, just put it aside. Make that effort to connect with intention. You can always instill other processes that will help you become more familiar with names as you move ahead with this. Don't use it as an excuse. This can be a relatively easy exercise for people who are more on the extroverted side with regards to their personalities. As a matter of fact, they'll probably relish the fact that they are going out there to engage. But for those who are more introverted, where connection causes anxiety, you need to be able to push through your emotions and don't let them get in the way of your choice here. You will create more fans, more followers, more trust, more communication, more relationship by committing to those walk and talks. 6 months down the road, if you're talking to me, you will tell me, I don't know why I didn't do that beforehand. So come on, this isn't an intellectual challenge. It's only a time challenge, and the payoff is exceedingly high. Put it in your calendar and do not trade it off. What changes do you see in the near future for your leadership of others? What will you be prepared to invest in to support yourself and assure that you move forward in this regard? Can you afford to not take different steps that help you claim the leader you need to be for the greater success of your business? I invite you to watch our website, tap into our resource page, and watch for announcements of affordable and convenient learning opportunities. Our next webinar leadership training program isn't far off, and I would be thrilled to support you as you move forward. To better leadership, always.